I still remember the way my hands trembled on the steering wheel that Christmas Eve. After 2 years of missing family gatherings because of work, I was finally driving home to Ohio. 4 hours on the road, snow falling gently outside, and my heart full of hope. I had gifts for everyone: a pearl necklace for Mom, a leather jacket for my brother Kevin. I had been the one quietly paying their bills for 5 years, but lately they had been distant. Fewer calls, shorter texts. I brushed it off. Standing at that front door, I had no idea my whole world was about to collapse. Before we dive into what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If you enjoy stories about family betrayal and finding your own strength, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you are going to want to stay for this one, because what my mother said when she opened that door changed everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, I learned early what it meant to struggle. My father worked at the local steel mill, putting in long hours to keep food on our table and a roof over our heads. He was a quiet man, the kind who showed love through action rather than words. Every evening he would come home with grease on his hands and exhaustion in his eyes, but he never complained. He would ruffle my hair, ask about school, and sit down to dinner with us like nothing in the world could be better than being with his family. Then when I was 12 years old, everything changed. There was an accident at the mill. A piece of heavy machinery malfunctioned. My father did not come home that evening. He never came home again. My mother, Linda, was devastated, but she did not have time to grieve properly. She had 2 boys to raise. Kevin was only 8 years old at the time, and he took it harder than anyone. He started having nightmares, getting sick more often, missing school. Mom poured all her energy into caring for him, working 2 jobs just to keep us afloat. She cleaned houses during the day and waitressed at a diner at night. I watched her come home at midnight, her feet swollen, her eyes red from exhaustion. I decided then that I would never be a burden to her. At 16, I got my first job bagging groceries at the local supermarket. Every paycheck I handed half to Mom. She would protest, tell me to save it for college, but I could see the relief in her eyes. Kevin never got a job. Mom said he was too fragile, too sensitive. He needed protecting. I understood. He was my little brother. Protecting him was my job too. School was my escape. I buried myself in books, determined to build a better life for all of us. Teachers noticed my dedication. By senior year, I had earned a full scholarship to a university in Chicago. The day I got that acceptance letter, Mom cried. Kevin just shrugged and asked if I was really leaving. I was. But I promised myself I would never forget where I came from. College was hard. Chicago was expensive, and even with my scholarship money was tight. I worked 3 part-time jobs while maintaining my grades. I tutored other students in the mornings, worked at a coffee shop in the afternoons, and did data entry for a small business at night. Sleep became a luxury. But I pushed through because I had a goal. I wanted to give my family the life they deserved. After graduation, I landed a position at a prestigious investment firm. The starting salary was more money than my mother had ever made in a year. I still remember my first paycheck. I sat in my tiny studio apartment staring at the numbers, and I cried. Not for myself, but for my father, who never got to see this. For my mother, who sacrificed everything. For Kevin, who I hoped would find his own path someday. That same month, I set up an automatic transfer. $500 every month sent directly to Mom. She called me crying, telling me I did not have to do that. But I wanted to. I needed to. It felt like the only way to honor everything she had done for us. As my career progressed, so did my contributions. Within 5 years, I had been promoted 3 times. I was now a mid-level manager with a 6-figure salary. My monthly transfers to Mom had increased to $1,200, enough to cover her entire rent. When her car broke down, I paid for the repairs. When she mentioned her health insurance was too expensive, I added her to a plan I paid for out of pocket. And then there was Kevin. At 23, he still had not found stable employment. He bounced between odd jobs, never lasting more than a few months anywhere. He moved into his own apartment but could not afford the rent. So I started paying that too. Another $800 a month gone from my account, sent to a landlord in Ohio for an apartment I had never even seen. I also gave Kevin a credit card linked to my account. Just for emergencies, I told him. The limit was $5,000. I figured it would help him get back on his feet if he ever found himself in a tough spot. I did not check the statements. I trusted him. I did all of this quietly. I never told anyone at work about my family situation. I never posted about it on social media. I never expected praise or recognition. In my mind, this was simply what family did. You take care of your own, no questions asked. But looking back now, I realize something important. In all those years of giving, I never stopped to ask myself whether my family actually appreciated it, or whether they even saw me as anything more than a source of income. The drive from Chicago to my hometown takes about 4 hours if the weather cooperates. That Christmas Eve, the snow was falling steadily, coating the highway in a thin layer of white. I did not mind. There was something peaceful about driving through a winter landscape, watching the flakes dance in my headlights. My car was packed with gifts carefully wrapped in red and green paper. I had spent weeks picking out the perfect presents. For Mom, a pearl necklace from a jewelry store downtown. For Kevin, a designer leather jacket he had mentioned wanting months ago. I even brought wine, fancy cheese, and chocolate truffles to contribute to the dinner spread. 2 years. It had been 2 years since I last made this drive. Work had consumed me. Promotions meant more responsibility, which meant longer hours and fewer vacation days. I had missed Thanksgiving twice, Christmas once, and countless birthdays. But I had made up for it financially. At least that is what I told myself. Every time I could not be there in person, I sent extra money. A little something to show I was thinking of them. But this year was different. I had blocked off the entire week between Christmas and New Year. No emails, no conference calls, no emergencies that could not wait. This was going to be my time with family. I imagined Mom greeting me at the door with that warm smile of hers. I imagined Kevin cracking jokes over dinner the way he used to when we were kids. I imagined sitting by the fireplace drinking hot cocoa and feeling like I belonged somewhere. As I pulled onto the familiar street where I grew up, my heart started beating faster. The neighborhood looked exactly the same. The same old oak trees lining the sidewalks. The same Christmas lights hanging from porches. The same sense of small-town comfort that I had missed more than I realized. I parked in front of Mom's house. The windows glowed warm and golden. I could see the Christmas tree through the curtains, decorated with the same ornaments we had used since I was a child. There were shadows moving inside. People. My family together waiting for me. I grabbed the bag of gifts and walked up the front steps. My breath fogged in the cold air. I pressed the doorbell and waited, a smile already spreading across my face. The door opened. Mom stood there in a nice dress, her hair done up, looking ready for a celebration. But her face did not light up the way I expected. Instead, her expression went cold, guarded, almost annoyed. "Sorry," she said. "I think you have the wrong house." I laughed. It was such an absurd thing to say that I assumed she was joking. Some kind of Christmas prank. "Very funny, Mom," I said, stepping forward. "You almost got me." But she did not move aside. Instead, she put her hand on the doorframe, blocking my entry. "Naomi, not tonight. Please leave." Her voice was firm, serious. There was no warmth in it, no hint of humor. I stood there frozen, trying to process what was happening. Through the gap in the doorway, I could see into the living room. Kevin was sitting on the couch, but he was not alone. There was a woman beside him, pretty with dark hair, and 2 young children playing on the floor near the Christmas tree. The dining table was set beautifully with candles, fancy dishes, and a golden roasted turkey as the centerpiece. It looked like a perfect holiday scene, a scene that did not include me. "Mom, what is going on?" I asked, my voice cracking slightly. "Who are those people?" She glanced over her shoulder, then back at me. "Kevin's girlfriend and her children. They are spending Christmas with us." "Okay," I said slowly. "That is great, but why can I not come in?" She sighed as if I was being difficult, as if I was the one causing a problem. "It is complicated, Naomi. This is not a good time. We can talk later." "Okay." Before I could respond, she started closing the door. I stood there, my hand still raised, holding a bag full of gifts that suddenly felt ridiculous. The door clicked shut. I heard the lock turn. For a long moment, I did not move. I could not move. The cold seeped through my coat, but I barely felt it. All I could feel was this hollow ache spreading through my chest, like someone had reached inside and scooped out everything that mattered. I turned around slowly and walked back to my car. My legs felt heavy. My mind was blank. I sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes, staring at the house, watching the shadows move behind the curtains. Laughter drifted out, muffled but unmistakable. They were celebrating. Without me. What had I done wrong? I could not think of a single fight, A single argument, anything that would explain this. I had always been there for them. Financially, at least. Was that not enough? I started the car and pulled away from the curb, heading back toward the highway. The snow was falling harder now, but I did not care. I just needed to put distance between myself and that house where I apparently no longer belonged. I was about 20 miles down the highway when my phone rang. Kevin's name flashed on the screen. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but some part of me, the part that still desperately wanted an explanation, made me answer. Hey, Kevin's voice came through casual, almost breezy. Look, do not be upset, but you know we could not let you in tonight. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. No, Kevin, I do not know. Why would you think I would know that? He sighed like I was being unreasonable. Melissa is here, my girlfriend, and her kids. They are kind of the focus right now, you know. She does not really feel comfortable with strangers at family events. The word hit me like a slap. Strangers, I said. Kevin, I am your brother. Yeah, but you have not exactly been around, have you? 2 years, man. 2 years without showing your face. Melissa and her kids, they are here. They are part of the family now. You cannot just show up and expect everything to revolve around you. I was speechless. The audacity of it. The complete lack of self-awareness. I have been paying your rent, I said quietly. For 3 years. I have been paying Mom's rent for 5 years. I gave you a credit card for emergencies. I have sent money every single month without fail, and you are calling me a stranger. There was a pause on the other end. Look, Kevin said, his tone shifting slightly. That is a separate thing. We appreciate the help. But helping with bills does not automatically make you part of everything. Melissa's kids do not know you. It would have been awkward. Awkward, I repeated. Yeah, you get it right. We can meet up after Christmas. Maybe grab lunch or something. It will be fine. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him exactly what I thought of his excuses. But I was too tired, too hurt, too confused. Sure, Kevin, I said flatly. I understand. Cool. Glad you are not making this a big deal. I will text you, okay, Merry Christmas. He said Merry Christmas, like nothing was wrong. Like he had not just shattered something inside me. Merry Christmas, I whispered back. I heard a rustling sound on the other end, then voices. Kevin had not hung up. He must have pulled the phone away from his ear without ending the call. I was about to disconnect when I heard something that made me freeze. That was not so bad, Kevin said to someone. I could hear Melissa's voice in the background, higher-pitched, amused. What did he say, she asked. He said he understood. Typical Naomi, always trying to be the bigger person. They both laughed. Honestly, Melissa continued, he sounds so entitled. Just because he sends money, he thinks that makes him family. Like, no. Being family means being present. You cannot buy your way into our lives. Exactly. Kevin agreed. He has always been like that. Acts like a saint, but expects everyone to worship him for it. The martyr complex is real. Then I heard a third voice. A voice I recognized instantly. Mom. Kevin is right, she said. Naomi made his choice when he moved to Chicago and started his fancy career. We have a new life now. We cannot put everything on hold just because he decides to show up whenever it is convenient for him. Melissa jumped in again. Your mom told me he thinks he is better than everyone just because he lives in the city. Like we do not need his charity. We were doing fine before him. The money is helpful, Mom admitted. But honestly, we would manage without it. We always have. And now that Kevin has Melissa, things are more stable anyway. I sat there in my car, pulled over on the side of the highway, listening to my family tear me apart. Every word was a knife. Every laugh was salt in the wound. They did not see me as family. They saw me as a checkbook, an obligation, an inconvenience who occasionally showed up expecting gratitude for doing the bare minimum. The bare minimum. I had given them everything. Everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed. And to them, it was nothing. The call finally disconnected. I do not know if Kevin realized his mistake or if the phone just died. It did not matter. I had heard enough. I sat there for a long time. The snow piled up on my windshield. The cold crept into the car. And I cried. Not dramatic sobbing tears, just quiet ones that slipped down my cheeks and dripped onto my coat. I cried for the family I thought I had, for the love I thought I was giving, for the person I thought I was who turned out to be nothing more than a convenient source of income. It was almost midnight when I finally pulled myself together. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and looked at my phone. 61 missed calls would come later. But first, I had some decisions to make. There is a moment, I think, when you realize you have been living a lie. Not a lie someone else told you, but a lie you told yourself. I had convinced myself that my family loved me, that all the money I sent, all the sacrifices I made mattered, that even if I was not physically present, I was still an important part of their lives. That illusion shattered completely on the side of that highway. I drove to a gas station about 30 miles from my hometown. It was one of those 24-hour places with flickering fluorescent lights and a bored attendant behind bulletproof glass. I parked near the pumps but did not get out. Instead, I sat in my car and pulled out my phone. My banking app opened with a simple touch. I navigated to the automatic transfers section. There they were. 2 recurring payments that had been running for years. $1,200 a month to Linda Martinez, listed as rent assistance. $800 a month to Greenway Apartments for Kevin's place. I stared at those numbers for a long time. Nearly $25,000 a year. For 5 years. That was more than $100,000 I had sent to people who saw me as nothing more than a convenient ATM. My thumb hovered over the cancel button. Was I really going to do this? I thought about Mom closing the door in my face. I thought about Kevin calling me a stranger. I thought about Melissa laughing about my charity. I thought about all those years of working overtime, skipping vacations, saying no to things I wanted because I was sending my money to Ohio instead. I pressed cancel. A confirmation message popped up. Are you sure you want to stop this recurring transfer? Yes, I tapped. Yes, I was sure. I did the same for Kevin's rent payment. Then I opened the credit card management section and found the supplementary card I had given him. Usage history showed charges from restaurants, clothing stores, electronics shops, not emergencies, luxuries, things he could not afford on his own because he expected me to cover them. I froze the card immediately. No warning, no grace period, just done. The whole process took less than 15 minutes. 5 years of financial support ended with a few taps on a screen. It felt surreal. It felt necessary. It felt like the first time in a very long time that I had done something just for myself. I drove back to Chicago through the night. The roads were mostly empty, just me and the occasional truck driver hauling goods through the darkness. I arrived at my apartment around 4 in the morning, exhausted in every possible way. I collapsed onto my bed without even taking off my coat and fell into a dreamless sleep. When I woke up, it was past 9 o'clock. Pale winter sunlight filtered through my blinds. For a moment, I forgot where I was, forgot what had happened. Then it all came rushing back and I felt that hollow ache in my chest again. I reached for my phone out of habit. The screen was filled with notifications, missed calls, text messages, voicemails, 61 missed calls. 43 were from Kevin, 18 were from Mom. The texts were worse. What did you do? Kevin had written at 2:14 in the morning. The card got declined, he sent at 2:17. Call me now at 2:22. Naomi, this is not funny at 2:31. Melissa's kids need things. You cannot do this on Christmas. Mom's messages were similar, but with a different tone. More guilt, less accusation. Naomi, please call me, she wrote. There has been some kind of mistake with the bank. I do not understand why you would do this to your family on Christmas. We need to talk. This is an emergency. I read every single message. I listen to every voicemail. Kevin's voice grew increasingly panicked as the night went on. Mom's grew increasingly tearful. Neither of them apologized. Neither of them acknowledged what they had said about me. They were not upset that they had hurt me. They were upset that the money had stopped. I did not reply to any of them. Instead, I made one phone call, just one. I dialed Mom's number and waited. She picked up on the first ring. Naomi, thank God, she said, her voice thick with tears. Something is wrong with the payments. Kevin's card is not working. I need you to fix this. No hello. No how are you. No, I am sorry for what happened last night. Just fix the money problem. I took a deep breath. You told me I had the wrong house, I said calmly. So I am giving you what you wanted. I am no longer part of this family. Naomi, no, wait. She was crying now, or at least making crying sounds. That was a misunderstanding. We did not mean it like that. It was just a complicated situation with Melissa and the kids, and we did not think it through. It was not a misunderstanding, I said. Kevin forgot to hang up. I heard everything. I know exactly what you all think of me. I know you see me as nothing but a source of money. I know you think I am entitled and that I have a martyr complex. I heard Melissa call me a stranger. I heard you say you do not need my charity. Silence on the other end. Heavy, guilty silence. From now on, I continued, I have the wrong house, and you have the wrong son to ask for money. Do not contact me again. Naomi, please, she started. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. Then I blocked Kevin. Then I turned off my phone entirely and sat in the quiet of my apartment feeling something I had not felt in years. Freedom. The weeks that followed were not easy. I will not pretend they were. Cutting off your family, even a family that hurt you, leaves a wound. There were nights I lay awake wondering if I had made the right choice. Mornings I woke up reaching for my phone, half expecting to see a message that would make everything okay again. Those messages never came. Or rather, they came, but they were not the right kind. Kevin created new numbers to call me from. Mom sent letters to my apartment. All of them were the same. Demands, accusations, guilt trips. None of them contained apologies. None of them acknowledged what they had done. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Patterson, a kind woman in her 50s with gray-streaked hair and a gentle voice. She helped me understand things I had never allowed myself to see. How I had spent my whole life trying to earn love through sacrifice. How I had equated being needed with being valued. How I had ignored every red flag because admitting the truth would have been too painful. It was painful anyway. But at least now I was processing it instead of burying it. I also reconnected with old friends, people I had neglected during my years of working and sending money home. Marcus, my college roommate, was the first one I reached out to. We had drifted apart after graduation mostly because I was always too busy. But when I called him and explained what had happened, he did not hesitate. Come over for dinner, he said. My wife makes amazing lasagna. And my kids would love to meet their Uncle Naomi. Uncle. The word hit me harder than I expected. I was not even related to Marcus, but he was offering me a place in his family, something my own blood relatives had denied me. That dinner changed everything. Marcus's wife Jasmine welcomed me like I had always been part of their lives. Their two daughters, ages 6 and 8, asked me endless questions about my job, my apartment, whether I had any pets. I laughed more that evening than I had in months. And when I left, Jasmine hugged me and said, "You are always welcome here. Always." Family, I learned, was not about blood. It was about choice. It was about people who showed up for you not because they had to, but because they wanted to. 6 months after that Christmas, I got another promotion. Senior manager now with a corner office and a team of my own. The money I used to send to Ohio stayed in my bank account, and I finally started doing things I had always put off. I took a trip to Spain, something I had dreamed about since college. I invested in a retirement fund. I bought myself a decent watch, not to show off, but because I had earned it. I also met someone. Her name is Sarah. She is a nurse at a hospital downtown, and we met at a coffee shop when she accidentally grabbed my order instead of hers. We laughed about it, started talking, and 3 hours later we were still sitting there, our drinks cold and forgotten. Sarah knows about my family. I told her everything, and she listened without judgment. She has her own complicated history, her own wounds she is still healing from. Maybe that is why we understand each other so well. We are both learning that it is okay to protect yourself, that setting boundaries is not selfish, that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Last month I had dinner with Marcus and Jasmine again. Sarah came with me this time. We sat around their table eating too much food and talking about everything and nothing. Marcus's daughters showed Sarah their drawings. Jasmine asked about our plans for the summer. Marcus made terrible jokes that everyone groaned at but secretly loved. And I realized, sitting there surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, that I had found what I had been searching for my whole life. Not a family that tolerated me because I was useful. A family that chose me because I mattered. I do not hate my mother or my brother. Hatred takes too much energy, and I have spent enough of my life giving them things they did not deserve. I hope they find whatever it is they are looking for. I hope Kevin learns to stand on his own. I hope Mom finds peace. But I will not be part of their journey anymore. That chapter of my life is closed. Someone once told me that the family you are born into is an accident, but the family you build is a choice. I used to think that sounded cold. Now I understand it is one of the truest things I have ever heard. Sometimes the wrong house leads you to the right home, and the family that rejects you makes room for the family that chooses you. If you have ever felt used by the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, I want you to know something. It is not your fault. You are not too much and you are not too little. The right people will see your worth without you having to prove it over and over again. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to walk away from family to find your peace? I would love to hear your stories in the comments. And if this video resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear this today. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stories like this one. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope wherever you are surrounded by people who truly see you and love you for who you are. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.